All right, Kurt, we have the return of Liv Morgan was a big part of the show tonight. And Roxanne Perez looked kind of nervous for a while there. And then suddenly she seemed kind of relieved, and then all seemed to end well. What did you make of the story they told here with Liv's return and that all that months of tension that we might think existed between Liv and Perez?
I think from what we saw at the end of the show tonight, Liv is the boss. If there was any doubt of that before, from the way she carried herself tonight, Liv is the leader of that group. Not Dominic, not Finn Balor. It is Liv Morgan. And from what I saw tonight with her handing the belt to Roxanne and then raising Roxanne and Raquel's hands as like the champions in that sense, I look at it in the sense that Liv probably has bigger fish to fry, that being the women's world title. If you saw that confrontation she had with Vecker earlier in the show. So I think like from her mentality, she just says to herself, they could have the tag team titles, that's cool, but I want the main title. So I see it going in that direction. And from how I was building tonight, I picked Liv Morgan as the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble winner. I feel like it's heading in that direction. It should happen, considering that she just came off of a bad injury. So I'm all for it. And honestly, the whole Liv Morgan aspect of the show was pretty much the saving grace of the whole show. After Triple H said it was going to be monumental, it was going to be epic, it was going to be the greatest Raw ever. And yeah, it was not that at all. Although it had its moments, it definitely was not even close to being that epic.
Yeah. I'm with you on Liv. I mean, she just came across like she was in charge and the alpha of that group, and she was basically deciding who was like, how do I put this? She was deciding, like, she was praising people, giving credit to people, but also deciding Roxanne Perez's fate in this group, and if she was going to let things go or not, that people perceived were things in the past that she might not let go. I thought I want to give credit to Roxanne Perez, and I don't know if you noticed or think I'm reading too much into it, but I thought Perez really effectively came across as nervous what Liv was going to say about her, and then was relieved in her body language, and then she acted especially gracious to her at the end of the show, almost tried to curry favor because of that sense of, oh, is she mad at me kind of quote taking her spot a little bit. And then Liv, as you say, asserted her alpha status by handing the belt back, graciously stepping between them and raising their arms. But everything said, body language wise, were to perceive Liv as the alpha over Perez. Perez was scared of what Liv would think. Liv, perhaps temporarily or on her terms, granted approval to Perez, but Perez should still be on edge. That's my take of kind of the story arc we saw over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, like in a sense, like with Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn a couple years ago with the whole Bloodline storyline when it was at its peak. I guess it might have a similar vibe to that there. But yeah, just considering how they were building tension between the two of them before Liv got hurt, I definitely see it happening again at some point. And if anything, in all honesty, from how it's building now, I could see even Perez and Raquel eventually turning on Liv. Between now and the time we get to WrestleMania, I could definitely see that as an issue, or maybe they get sick of, her power plays, or maybe her throwing her weight around. So I could definitely see that happening at some point. But for tonight, Judgment Day stood tall, and Judgment Day was basically the highlight of the show, and Liv Morgan was the highlight of the show. And yeah, basically, like, what happened with her and Dominic at Survivor Series, that was basically the whole highlight of the show. And tonight it was also the highlight of the show, and it looks like we're getting more Judgment Day, and Judgment Day is more of the focal point of the show going forward in the next few months. And I don't really have an issue with it. I think it's cool, especially from what we saw tonight. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
That's going to be a question I had for you is Judgment Day strong enough on the men's side with Dominic at the Intercontinental title level, Balor and JD in the tag team level? Is that strong enough to get the TV time that it needs, or should they have another alpha male in the group? Eric Moy in the chat says if Damian Priest was still in, they would have a legit world champion contender. Does it? Because I think you're right. They're going to get a lot of TV time, and obviously Dom is mega over right now, and he's a central figure. But is that enough to justify the TV time that they're going to get when you consider they've got enough to go after the women's tag titles, and Liv can go after a women's singles title also?
Yeah, I think it's about enough, because it was basically that same way before Liv got hurt, so I don't see it being any less this time around. So yeah, I think they definitely have more than enough star power to carry the majority of the show. And yeah, I have thought about the whole Damian Priest aspect of it lately. I hate to say it, but he has not been better off ever since he split from Judgment Day. From that point when he lost the title and that pretty much everything that's happened with him ever since then, it just has not been the same vibe with him. I hate to say it, but it is true. So as far as getting somebody to replace him and like maybe fill that void that's been left ever since he's been gone, I can't really see anybody on the main roster right now who would really fit that. I mean, Braun Breaker would be that badass, but he's already in a group himself. So I think that's pretty much how it's going to be right now as far as the group goes. I don't think they're filling that void anytime soon.
Yeah. John P. Prine's Gym Shoes. John Prine's Gym Shoes says they are entertaining and it just works. And I mean, in this era, that goes a long way. Can you help fill TV time in a way that is entertaining with some acting that people buy into in terms of the interaction? So they feel authentic. Are they fun and are they entertaining? But they're not I mean, there's some things that are funny about their interactions, especially JD, but they're not doing comedy. I mean, this is kind of a soap opera built into the larger pro wrestling soap opera show in the interactions between them and the interpersonal dynamic. And it's I mean, it is, they managed to put they give them a lot of time, but manage to keep it interesting with the changing dynamic. And they set the scene for a long time for Liv's return. And now we have it. And yeah, Liv is acting like she is. Yeah, it's kind of like Alexa Bliss was the alpha with Charlotte in a way, trying to get Charlotte to break from her, the rut of her routine and being selfish and self-centered and robot. And she got her to loosen up and kind of, even though in stature she was smaller, she was just clearly the more mature leader, getting Charlotte out of that rut. And with Liv, she's showing up and she's just going, all right, let me, I'm in charge now. Let me give praise where it's due. I'm going to assert that you're all looking for my approval and I will steer this ship. And, when we say, do they need a male wrestler? It's kind of a loaded question because they have the female lead in Liv, and I think fans are going to buy it. And I think the way that Perez conducted herself on this episode, I think everybody contributed in the group. Balor and JD aren't trying to assert alpha status either, but I think they all collectively gave the impression to the average viewer, yeah, Liv is the boss here.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, definitely felt that way for now. There's definitely going to be dissension brewing between the majority of them going into WrestleMania season. But as far as tonight and the next few weeks going on, yeah, Liv Morgan is the boss, and they better all bow down to Liv. I'm just happy that she's back. I thought she would have been out maybe a little longer, like maybe towards Royal Rumble she would have been back, but I'm just happy that she's back now. I kind of maybe had the feeling that she might have shown up at Survivor Series, but I didn't want to put too much stock into it. But since it happened, I feel like it all worked out. Her and Dominic got the rub from John Cena, which they could take with them for the rest of their careers. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. Yeah, she definitely feels no less hot and no less relevant as she did, before she got hurt. So yeah, the Liv Morgan show, I have no issues with that because she's definitely proven in the last year and a half that she could be that focal point of the show.
What have you thought of Roxanne Perez's role? Highly touted in NXT, character kind of heel or face, what's best for her. What do you think about the job that she's doing all the way up to this week and then tonight especially?
I think she's been great. Yeah, I think every opportunity they've given to her ever since she's basically been on the main roster, she's knocked out of the park. From the time she lasted in the Royal Rumble, her performance in the Elimination Chamber, the involvement with Judgment Day, and then being the tag team with Raquel over the last few months. I think she's definitely done everything well that she's been in the position to do. And yeah, just from this year alone, you could definitely tell she's going to be the star of the future. She's going to be one of those like female faces of the division, kind of how they say that about Dominic and how they say that about Dominic and Braun Breaker. You could also say that from a female perspective about Roxanne Perez from the work she's done so far. She's definitely been a valuable piece to the group, valuable piece to the women's roster. And yeah, I think it's only going to get better for her from this point on.
Yeah, Adam Kidd in the chat says, I think Roxanne has grown into a pretty good heel. Yeah, all right. Well, there's some other comments in the chat I want to get to, but let's set the table, kind of introduce the show here briefly first, and then we'll throw some of those comments on the screen and read them to our audio podcast audience and get your thoughts on them, Kurt. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Monday, December 1st, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch Weekly newsletter and the website PWTorch.com, and the host of various podcasts throughout the week, including the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show, which streams live on the PWTorch YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. And then it is distributed in our podcast format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are not on the listening to us on the podcast side of things, subscribe for free to the feed. Just search Wade Keller in your podcast app. You'll see the red logo pop up. Subscribe to that. That'll give you all the post shows that we do on YouTube, plus some archives and special features that are not on YouTube. And then you can also subscribe to the blue logo show that'll pop up. That's our regular podcast as opposed to the live post shows. And those are not on YouTube, so you have to subscribe to listen to them in audio format. That includes the weekly flagship. Longtime Pro Wrestling Torch columnist Greg Parks joins me tomorrow on the flagship, and you can get your questions in for the flagship tomorrow. Wade, just email wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com if you have a topic suggestion or a comment or a rant or anything that you want to do to be part of the flagship this week. Email that email address, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. While you're at it, by the way, search PWTorch to subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast lineup. That includes our WWE-centric show, Acknowledging WWE. We also have shows such as the 90s Past Cast, where Patrick and Alex review a Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter from 30 years ago this week. They pull out quotes from me, reviewing shows, forecasting fame or misfortune for various wrestlers. And really, it's just a fun march through a fascinating time in wrestling history, obviously 30 years ago. That is free. And there's a different show each day of the week with different hosts and different themes. So if you have not subscribed to it yet, check it out. That is the PWTorch Daily Cast. That is the PWTorch Daily Cast. Search Wade Keller and PWTorch to get all of our shows in the lineup. But we are here to talk Monday Night Raw, and we welcome my co-host, Kurt Cadet. He is a PWTorch contributor. He is part of the written lineup of contributors and also the podcast side of things on the VIP podcast feed. Kurt, welcome back to the Cohost here. Good to see you and talk to you again.
Good to see you too. Yes, and I write weekly reviews for Monday Night Raw. Also host a show called Catching the Culture with Christopher Adams, a super suplexer. And our most recent episode we did was about the movie Titanic and Starrcade 97, because just how the Titanic hit the iceberg, Starrcade 97 is when WCW hit the iceberg. And I say, if you're going to go back and watch Starrcade 97, make sure you have tons and tons of alcohol on you, because that's the only way you're going to get through that damn show. But yes, those are just some of my contributions to PWTorch. And yes, I'm happy here to talk about Raw tonight and also the fallout from Survivor Series, which, in all honesty, I have to say was probably the worst PLE of the year. I think many of us could agree on that.
Interesting. We'll get into that. If you want to hear Catching the Culture, along with a whole VIP lineup of podcasts, along with unlocking nearly 4 decades of archives, hundreds of retro radio shows, including my run for years on KFAN on radio. We've got all of them converted to podcast format, along with really just hundreds of podcast radio shows turned into podcasts from the 1990s, and then over 2 decades of podcasts. We started podcasts before podcasting was a word for our members. You can dive back more than 20 years to our post-pay-per-view roundtables covering Survivor Series, SummerSlams, some TNA shows, ROH shows, and more. Check it out with a VIP membership. And you can get a discount right now, $9 off any subscription. You can bring a $12.99 monthly sub down to $3.99 with coupon code NOV2025. NOV stands for November. Well, it's December, but we're keeping the sale going, but it'll end any day now. So if you've been putting it off or hemming and hawing or thinking or considering it, now that we're past the busy holiday weekend, seize this opportunity. Get a full month. This is like 4 decades of content just unlocked for $3.99. And then you can also get our VIP podcast feed, compatible with Apple Podcasts, by the way, just automatically with a single click on your email when you sign up. No advanced settings or anything complicated technically to get our password protected site. We have it set up pretty slick where you don't have to do anything. Just click on the link. And as long as your sub is current, as long as your membership is active, it will play for you. So pwtorch.com/govip is where you go to get information on VIP membership. There's a link there to go to our sign-up form. In the coupon code box, enter NOV2025, as in November, NOV2025, and take $9 off a monthly sub. You can also, by the way, take $9 off a 3-month or 1-year sub if you want to just jump in for a longer-term commitment and have your monthly rate be the lowest it can be at that point, because obviously we give discounts if you subscribe longer because we have fewer fees when you approach it that way. All right. I would love to have you a member. We would love to have you as a VIP member. So take advantage of that sale if you have not yet. And you can right away listen to Todd Martin, Rich Fan, and I review reviewed the Survivor Series show on Saturday night, right after the event ended, and that is available as a VIP exclusive. All right. Join us in the chat if you're watching us live on YouTube, by the way. We'll keep an eye on those comments. You can also email us during the show, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com. And if you want, you can be a live video caller. The link to become a video caller is in my report at PWTorch covering Raw tonight. Just click on that link. You can turn your camera off if you don't want to be on camera. Just be an audio caller. That's how we did it for a dozen plus years over on the Blog Talk Radio side of things since before we moved to YouTube. And so you can certainly do that. Or you can turn your camera on and join us on cam. All right, Kurt. So I mentioned we had some chat comments on our opening topic on Judgment Day. One I do not want to endorse, and that is Eric Moy saying, I'm all for the Judgment Day holding the women's tag belts Freebird style. No, I think whoever wins the belts should have to defend them. I'm not an advocate for the idea of any 2 out of 3 people can defend tag titles. I think the 2 who win them have to be champs. So what do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, the Freebird rule, I think it only worked for the Freebirds and also the New Day when they did it. When Demolition did it in the early 90s, it was the beginning of the end for them. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want to see something similar happen to Liv, Raquel, and Roxanne Perez. They do not deserve that fate. But at any event, yeah, I don't think that's necessary. I feel like, yeah, with Raquel and Roxanne, that's enough. They can go for the tag titles and Liv will go for the women's world title.
Yeah, and I just think the rule in wrestling should be make sure things make sense. You know, like don't have a GM wanting a covert plan to be executed and he says it live on camera to everybody. And then he looks around like he hopes nobody heard him. And it's like, well, there's a camera with a live mic on and Netflix is showing it worldwide. Like, let's not be dumb. It's insulting and moronic and amateurish and Bush League and eye roll inducing. So stop doing that. Less annoying, but still annoying is when 2 people win a belt and then a third person can replace one of the 2. Just because you're a 3-person alliance doesn't mean you should interchangeably get to surprise people with which 2 people wrestle. You're right. It worked with the Freebirds. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a fan of it with New Day for the reason stated. But yeah, don't bring it back. Now, that said, I'm all for Liv causing tension when, say, Perez loses the belts, and this is down the line a little bit, and she, maybe questions whether Perez did her job or whatever, create a little tension. We'll get to that in 2026 at some point, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Darrell Freeman says, Roxanne made it feel like you don't know what Liv might do. And I like how Liv made it feel like she can flip out at anything. So you gotta watch out. Anything you want to add to that? I mean, that kind of backs up what we're saying, Kurt.
Yep, that's the best way I could describe it. Of being around Liv Morgan these days, you better be walking on eggshells because you never know what side of her you are going to get. Yep, but I like it though. I like this like new little change in character. She definitely has like kind of a different look since she came back. And yeah, that look on her face on Saturday right before she turned on Cena was priceless.
Yep.
Yeah, so she has all the makings for like a great complete sports entertainer, and she definitely deserves a spotlight for it.
So John Pryans, Jim Shue says, outside of the Bloodline, I think the Judgment Day has accelerated more careers than any other vehicle on wrestling TV in the last 5 years. What do you think about that statement, Kurt?
Yeah, I would say it makes sense because for a while on SmackDown, the Bloodline was dominating things, and then on Raw, on the flip side, the Judgment Day was dominating things. And it's funny to think this group has been around for almost 4 years now, and it all started with like 2 people who aren't even in the group anymore, that being Edge and also Damian Priest, and now it's Finn Balor, JD, Dominic, and Rhea when she was there. Yeah, it did wonders for Rhea, did wonders for Damian when he was in there, and then now Dominic is like coming into the prime of his career. Liv Morgan, I don't think she really needed it, but it definitely helped. Roxanne, it's been helping for. Raquel's helped for. JD, it's done good for. So yeah, it's definitely been a success story as far as groups in recent years. That's other than the Bloodline. Yeah, I don't think there's any other group you can think of in recent times that has done that good for that many careers.
Yep. Kane Play Stuff says when Judgment Day is good, they have a woman as a leader.
That's right.
Derek Hubbard says, and interesting that the women's tag titles are now the centerpiece of titles of the entire women's division across both brands. Do you agree with that assertion? And do you like it, Kurt?
It kind of feels that way because, yeah, the women's world title wasn't even featured on the show this week or last week. And even the women's championship with Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill basically has no like real legit challengers until Bianca Belair gets back. So yeah, it kind of does feel that way if you really think about it, because yeah, those belts are featured on both shows. The champions are featured on both shows. And yeah, with Raw even and SmackDown with their main women's champions, it's kind of hit or miss by how they're featured.
Yep. Darrell Freeman says, when Liv said she heard something about Judgment Day, the faces on everyone else told the story. They were worried. Yeah, I thought it again. You pay attention, you got rewarded this week in terms of the body language, and that's what the Bloodline established as a new baseline for wrestling factions that get a lot of TV time. 5 years ago, when it started to really take shape, the Bloodline just redefined how to present faction interplay, and it's something I've advocated for Don Callis and his group to take more seriously, and any group in AEW. Don't. And Samoa Joe and his group and the ops, like there's so much you can do with body language and subtle expressions. You're rewarding people who pay attention. You're creating undercurrents without hitting people over the head with it, of something to expect later or anticipate later. And the Judgment Day obviously they and the writing team put a lot of thought into what they do, and it works.
Yeah, it does.
All right, let's see. Okay, as far as Dom goes, Darrell says Dom is more over than ever and feels more important than any other co-leader of Judgment Day I've ever had. So, and they're building Logan and Ray to battle for a chance to go after him. So, and let's circle back because we talk about Liv being the leader. Dom is the top star of this group. He has emerged. I think the Cena feud, for any doubters who were left that he's a guy who can hang with a top star and look like he belongs, and it's not just some lopsided match in terms of star power. The Cena feud quieted any thoughts of that, and I think it can. For anyone who wasn't sure that this Dom thing was a big deal, you just hear he got a couple matches with Cena, and it just kind of sends a signal to the audience. Any fan who didn't know, yeah, Dom's a big deal now. It's just crazy how much charisma and confidence he exudes in everything he does now. Yet he still manages to be kind of a weasel. What are you thinking of Dom these days, Kurt? Talk about your journey with him since he has emerged.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of where he first started 5 years ago when he was basically his dad's sidekick. Him and his dad would always team up. And then lo and behold, right when they split up and he joins Judgment Day and he's like fooling around with Rhea Ripley, his whole career just changes and he becomes a superstar within, not even a year. Like that Ray feud really put him over the top. And then like once they got away from that and he was doing more of the stuff with Rhea and then later the stuff with Liv, it just did wonders for the kid. And I would have never thought in my entire life I would say that Rey Mysterio's son became one of the most hated and most despised heels in all of wrestling, but it definitely happened. And I do like with the fact that the Cena feud happened recently, it kind of brought back those old like negative reactions that Dominic would get. Like he was actually getting booed and actually getting rejected by the audience compared to what's been happening in recent months with the cheers. So I like that brought more of that back, that like kind of showed you that at the end of the day, this dude is still a heel, even though you do cheer for him. And he's definitely grown into it, especially this year, as like being one of those future stars of the company where like people talk about Braun Breaker, so-and-so. But Dominic, especially this year, made a case for it that he is in that mix too. And there's not enough good things I can say about the dude and his character on the show. He definitely makes the show better by being on it. And he's definitely earned the spot he's in now.
I always talk about wrestlers on journeys and why it's one of my favorite parts of following professional wrestling for as long as I have is watching somebody unexpectedly rise, watch someone else who's pushed really hard fail. Not that I take joy in that. It's just fascinating to watch somebody who gets picked to be the guy and something just doesn't click. But then someone else on the undercurrent is completely taking over and becoming a star. There was a little bit of that with Bret Hart and Lex Luger during kind of the post-Hogan era where Vince wanted to anoint Lex Luger and others were pushing for Bret. Steve Austin wasn't supposed to become the star that he became, but he became undeniable. Rhea Ripley kind of snuck up on people at a time when others were getting pushed. Kurt, any other examples come to mind?
Bret Hart is probably the best example you could think of as far as like somebody who was kind of getting ignored and pushed to the side, but then when the company actually gave him a chance, he actually made things happen. Also, CM Punk's another guy you can go with of like somebody who actually deserved more attention than he got, but he was like pushed to the side in favor of other people. And also, in a way, John Cena and Batista, because initially it kind of felt like Batista was going to be more the guy, like when they first started like anointing them as the two champions. But then within a few months, they had them switch shows and they had John Cena on Raw. So then from that point, you could like definitely tell John Cena was more of the guy than Batista was. So that's like, I would say probably the main example from more modern times that I can think of.
Yeah. Yep. All right. A prediction from Real Legend. Dom drops the IC title to Ray, and then Dom moves up to the main event picture. We're praising Dom here. Is he going to be a really good top of the second tier um, character actor is the phrase I was looking for, like in movies, like a great character actor. He's present. You'll see a movie and be really entertained by this character actor being in it, but they're not the front and center on the poster. They're not what the movie is built around and the marketing's built around, but they're super valuable and important. Is that Dom, or is he on a WrestleMania poster as the headline guy? Does he become John Cena? Does he become that level of a star? You know, I say a lot, and I think history shows the follow-up star to the previous big star is not a carbon copy. It's not even a slight derivative. It's something very different than the previous star. And Dom would be and I don't want to get too far ahead of things here. I'm just throwing it out as a conversation talking point, not advocating a belief in it. But I wouldn't rule out that Dom is this completely unexpected, completely different follow-up to Roman Reigns or whoever. And we can get into, like, is there even going to be a discussion at some point of whether all the promotional energy going into Braun Breaker should actually be shifting more to Dom? I mean, that could be conceivably a conversation in the next year and a half.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, you never know how this could go, because I would have never expected Dominic when he first got started a few years ago to be where he's at now. I would have never guessed that for $1 million in a million years. But here we are 5 years later. The dude's one of the top guys in the company in that sense. And as far as like the next year and a half goes, as far as him like being a main eventer or somebody on posters, it could happen. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it will. I don't know for sure if it will, but it could. There's definitely strong chance that it could.
Just saying it could. Like, that's like, it doesn't have to actually manifest. Just the fact that we can, and it's not a laugh line, and people aren't going, what are these guys talking about? To even consider that as a possibility is such a testament to the unexpected rise and how well Dom has dealt with it. There's a connection there between him and the audience, and he can ride that for quite a while. Darrell adds, Liv coming back and moving past the Judgment. Oh, okay. I think I said that, but moving past the Judgment Day beef was a smart move. Now they feel like they have a leader now and feel whole. All right. Real Legend says, I want to see Judgment Day hold all the gold. Well, that'd mean Dom moving up to the world title level. If they're going to hold, a belt in each division, a men's world title, men's secondary title, women's or tag titles. I don't think they have enough members to hold all the gold, but everybody in the group can hold gold, but I don't know if they can hold all the gold. There's not enough bodies in the group right now. All right, Kurt, anything else you want to mention on, I feel we could do more on the role of Raquel and how Finn and JD fit in, but anything else pertinent that you want to bring up about that?
Yeah, I think JD's definitely coming to his own as far as like being a great performer in the ring. I mean, he always was, but I feel like more people are starting to see it with recent matches. And yeah, if God forbid the group ever breaks up or splits up or anything along those lines, I could definitely see him being a great single star. Like if it ever comes to that, because he's definitely proven that in his recent matches with Sheamus, the match with Ray last week, he could definitely be a player. I mean, Finn is Finn. Finn's a great character. Finn puts on those great matches, but realistically, he's used to lose more often than that. So I feel like his role is his role. And then Dominic, we've mentioned, he's definitely a main event waiting to happen. I feel like he's practically there now. And the women, I think like for the women especially, the sky's the limit. If anybody other than Dominic comes out as a star from Judgment Day, it'll be any of the women.
Let's see. Jason D from Australia chimes in on this. Liv slap Dom again as if to say Dom, as if to assert she's the Dom. I think it was what Jason is saying there. Oh no, there's continuation. Liv slapping Dom again as if to say Dom can take me slapping him. It's cool, like at Survivor Series, but I can snap too. And then Jason adds, in fairness to Roxanne's character, it's not like she's been overtly flirting with Dom. She has held her own respectfully, so Liv can't be that upset. And Derek Mitchell says the whole time with Liv being out, they didn't build tension with Liv and Roxanne in that relationship when it comes to Dom. They did some stuff with that early. It wasn't a huge thing later, but yeah, the photos of Liv in the background the whole time, she was just looming as a shadow as Roxanne tried to assert herself in the group as not the replacement for Liv, but somebody who could fill Liv's shoes to a degree. What do you think the intended story was here all along with when Roxanne got added? Liv is out for a long time. We see Liv's framed pictures. And then tonight, clearly there's nervousness on the part of Roxanne especially, but everybody with Liv coming back, and then a sense of relief. What story were they telling and how did they tell it? And do you agree with Jason and Derek that it wasn't really sexual tension with Dom, but more just was Roxanne trying to take her place on the wrestling side? What do you think?
I kind of felt when this whole thing first started that Roxanne was kind of gonna kind of have the same role that Liv had when her and Dominic first got together, where she was gonna kind of like warm up to Dom while Liv was away, kind of like how Liv warmed up to Dom while Rhea Ripley was away. I kind of felt like it was going to go in that direction. Then when Liv came back, it was going to be all fireworks and all that good stuff. But they didn't go in that direction. They kind of teased it briefly for maybe a week or two. Then they got away from it. It was more about Roxanne trying to win Raquel over than win Dominic over in these last few months. And obviously she's done that. They seem like they've been cool ever since, I would say, SummerSlam time. And yeah, now with Liv being back, it's more of like her being the boss and her, you know, acting like she's cool with everybody, but showing that, you know, she's not the one to try to cross over or try to screw over. So in that sense, yeah, it's kind of different from what I thought it would have went down, kind of different from the way I thought it would have went down initially, but I feel like it still worked. I feel like it's still been fine. And who knows, maybe they can bring up a story at some point where Dominic and Roxanne were fooling around, and they did have something going on, but it didn't really get enough attention or really get shined on, and they could reveal that at some point, and then things will get even crazier from there.
And kind of like with Jade and Naomi and Bianca, sometimes you have a storyline in mind, and then an injury just kind of causes you to go, I don't know if we can stretch it out this long or go back to it, and it kind of gets cold. But it still happened, but it's not the main centerpiece thing. Jason D adds, Finn brought Roxanne to mess with Liv, but they backed away from it due to injury. Derek Mitchell says the most Roxanne has done for Dom was side with him in giving him some chicken nuggets and walk him to ringside. Other comments here in the chat. Just note as far as the next top star being very different than the previous top star. If you look at Cody as a top star today, Real Legend says he's completely different from Cody Rhodes. And Sipowitz Tropical Fish says he relates well to the younger generation, yet us old-timers love how he respects the craft. I think that's well put. Kane Play Stuff says, for anyone who says Dom isn't a top guy, they are not paying attention. Goodfella says, Dirty Dom against Jacob Fatu or Breaker for the world title at Mania 44, I bet could sell some tickets. So there's an idea. Sipowitz Tropical Fish says, Dom is very similar to Rockstar. Both sons of wrestlers who got to join the big show before they were ready, was hated with no personality as a lame babyface, joined a stable. Yeah, I mean, there's some parallels there. You know, they kind of came into their own. Dom wasn't supposed to be big. Rock was from the beginning supposed to be big, even if it got off to a pretty rocky start. JC Scooby says Dom can never be a babyface with that mullet. Do you agree with that, Kurt? I think you can be a babyface with a mullet. Those are coming back.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero did it. Yeah, it's not impossible.
Yeah, especially when you're tying it to when you're playing a character who is the son of Eddie Guerrero. And Derek Mitchell says, yeah, the turning point for Dom was kicking Edge in the grapefruits, and he went full heel. All right. So moving moving on. Let's go to the Braun Breaker promo. I know it's getting some praise, and it deserves some praise because we didn't know, what we're going to get with Breaker. Kavanti Small says Breaker finally cut a centerpiece promo. So it was a centerpiece promo, but was it a success being a centerpiece promo? I have mixed feelings on it. First of all, I want to say it's promising that he could talk that long. And all that. What I didn't like is how it was so clear, Kurt. When it was over, we were supposed to see this as a moment. Braun Breaker declared it, him proving to CM Punk he can cut a promo. Like overtly, he decided for himself that that was a mic drop moment. Logan Paul throws a mic in the air and endorses it. Paul Heyman looks like, whoa. This was Vince McMahon telling us that Roman Reigns is the big dog and Brock Lesnar's the next big thing. Like sometimes you anoint it and it feels like now you're telling us how to feel instead of letting us feel a certain way. So no matter how good the Braun Breaker promo was, when Breaker declared it was him proving to CM Punk he can cut a top tier promo, when it was, I thought, a notch short of that. And then you have Logan clearly orchestrated, preordained to put it over as this huge deal on a promo that I thought was more Jim Neidhart than Top Guy. I mean, it was intense. Jim Neidhart cut some good yelling promos over the years in the Hart Foundation. But he's, Braun, stumbled over his words a little bit. especially when he's talking about the wife at home, who's a bigger story. And I don't think he made it even entirely clear if he's talking about CM Punk and AJ or Seth and Becky. I don't know. I mean, it's a work in progress. Again, promising and good. I just sort of resented by the end how much we're supposed to declare it, this career-making promo. I've loaded my question up to you, Kurt, but what did you think of Breaker's promo tonight?
I thought it was great. I thought it was intense. It was very believable. And from that promo, I'm starting to get the feeling that on that first Raw of the new year in January, that he could end up winning the title. I think I'm going to go to that Raw too. So if I go to that Raw, I think I'm going to go see a title change. And yeah, I have no problems with that.
So, this is... Do you think Braun Breaker showed he has it in him to cut a top-tier promo, or that if he never gets better at a promo, this is good enough for him to be the centerpiece for 7 years of WWE as a top star? Like, was it that good tonight?
Yeah, I think it was that good where I think he's capable of better down the road. I definitely got a lot out of it tonight compared to his past promos. Yeah. And I feel like now he's starting to, I guess, maybe accept more of that leadership role of being in the vision now that they took Seth out. And I like that they're actually going back to that, because I kind of felt like they had a rebellious side with Breaker and Reed, right when they first turned on Rollins. They kind of got away from going into Survivor Series, but now that Survivor Series is over, they can lean more into that. They can build him more as that leader, that next main guy. And by the time we get to that Raw in January, on the first Monday of January, he could end up being the champion. I've even heard a lot of people even clamoring for that and campaigning for that waiting until WrestleMania to put the title on him would be too long and too much of a stretch. So yeah, that Raw coming up in January would be the perfect place to do it. If you want to set the tone for the entire year and say where we're going in the future, there would be no better way to do it than to do a title change on that show, because we've had very few title changes on Raw in recent years, recent memory, and to do it on a Raw like that would really be saying a lot, and it would be a way of spicing things up as opposed to playing it safe with their booking the way they have been in the last year or so, because it's starting to really dull down the show and make the show feel stale, and doing something like that would definitely spice things up and give us a reason to keep tuning in to see what happens next. That's shocking.
Do you believe in my premise that promo was that we were being told to declare it a great promo rather than let that review by outsiders happen organically? I'm not even saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying, do you at least stipulate to the fact that, that was put out there for us to come out of it where we're supposed to say that was a career cementing top guy promo?
I think maybe that was their goal, but I don't feel like it was forced on me in a sense. I feel like, for me at least, it came more naturally from how I felt about it. But I'm sure they definitely had their intentions, considering that they're trying to push him to the moon. But just for me personally, it didn't feel forced. Like a lot of Roman Reigns' big dog speeches felt forced, and how Lex Luger's Made in the USA gimmick felt forced. None of that. I got more of a genuineness and more of a believability from this that I did not get from those. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Derek Mitchell says, I feel like Breaker is being pushed similar to how Vince was forcing Roman Reigns as his future main eventer. Darrell says, Braun's promo was good, but it wasn't a top guy promo. It's something you can build from, but it can be a more of a limiting promo because it didn't pull those emotions from the live crowd. Kane Play Stuff says Braun's voice cracked at the very end. Derek Mitchell adds, I like Breaker, but it feels like he's being pushed similar to Reigns by Vince. I'm not feeling it. And let's see, it's something else we're throwing up. I thought there was another comment there. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think it was fine. I don't think I would have come out of it being critical of it if it weren't for what I felt was a very performative damn by Logan Paul. After Braun cuts this killer promo, you're going to go damn and act all impressed because you're I don't know. I like when I can feel what I want to feel and not be told CM Punk is a pipe bomb throwing superstar. Just let us enjoy him being that without Michael Cole officially declaring it. So I felt a little manipulated. That said, there's a charm to the lack of polish to Braun Breaker's delivery, Kurt. I mean, he is so intense that he just gets lost in his own intensity. You don't want to do it where you lose the crowd, and it's the equivalent of like LA Knight slipping on the second rope when he leaps up to do a move. You never want him to sell stumbling or tripping over his words, but he did a little bit when he got rolling on it. But it was the longest, I think the longest to date promo that he's had a chance to cut. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I liked it. I'm not ready to say it's a finished product, or that the finished product is necessarily going to be somebody that they want. That I don't think the finished product showed me tonight that it's somebody who is going to connect at a top level guy, top guy way. We'll see. However, here's some Sipowicz says I didn't get the feeling of it being forced, and so that's fine. I mean, in a way, I hope it's true because I don't want my feeling to be the majorities because I'm not rooting for anyone to stumble and fail. I worry that if the fans feel like, okay, we're being told this promo is great, we're being told he's the next Mr. WrestleMania, and WWE is too heavy-handed with it, that people could rebel against something that otherwise could organically catch on. Jason D in Australia says, Braun can afford to stumble over his words. His character is intensity. No one knows what he'll say, perhaps even him. He's just fired up and uncensored like his uncle. Darrell said Braun tried to hit a Scott promo from WCW, but he didn't give you that thing or that feeling. Interesting. Kane Play Stuff said they definitely want you to think it was a standout promo, but it doesn't feel like it was forced in the way Roman is forced. It's because Braun has that natural intensity. So anyway, there we are. Darrell says the real top guy promo isn't the first promo in the start of a feud. It's your response to a promo after someone like Punk responds to you, and you break it down to the crowd, which could make them pick sides. So yeah, stay tuned. And part of where I come from too is I kind of had high expectations for Breaker on the microphone. I didn't think he was going to fail, so I didn't need like it to be affirmed he'd be good on the microphone. But I didn't want to be told he was excellent when I thought it was just very good. So we'll see. But maybe my perception isn't the majority's. All right, let's bring Rude Dog into the conversation. See what he wants to bring up. One of our regular callers here. Rude Dog, good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. What's on your mind about Raw tonight?
All right.
Hey Wade. Hey Kurt. Good to see you. Doing good. I'll just throw my 2 cents in with the Braun Breaker thing.
Yeah.
You already touched about it. Like, it was good and promising, but it certainly did not seem like a mic drop promo to me.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a solid promo, not something to ooh and ah over, but that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Yep. I think we're probably on a similar page. I certainly wasn't going to rip on it. I just want to note, I don't know if it was damn mic drop. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then so for Cena's retirement match tournament, we have Gunther versus LA Knight. What do you think about that matchup? And do you think LA Knight has a chance, or is it just, Gunther all the way?
It's interesting. I mean, I think LA Knight has a chance, but part of me is just, and it's not insincere, but I think I might lean on, is there the sliver of a chance of something happening that isn't the thing that's been leaked or forecast or predicted and talked about for months? I want to explore it as a possibility to kind of create a scenario that adds some suspense to watching the match. I'm not here to try to promote suspense where there shouldn't be any. But that said, I think LA Knight might have more to gain than Gunther, depending on the story that they're telling. If they're going to turn LA Knight heel on John Cena, and if they think they can really go with him as a heel, it'd feel a little bit out of nowhere. He's been a little blunt and curt in his interviews. So I'm as I talk, I'm kind of thinking like, are there any indicators where they want us to think that? I don't think so. Are there indicators where they want us to look back and go, I should have seen it coming, or it feels more natural when it happens? Maybe. But they didn't do enough with Gunther tonight to make you think he's a babyface, and I don't know that. I guess LA Knight can beat Gunther as a babyface. LA Knight can be a babyface beating a heel Gunther, and then go on to face John Cena, and I guess turn heel either after beating Cena or after losing to Cena. And so I can imagine a world where that is what they do, but I wouldn't put my money on it. I guess that's kind of where I am. Kurt, how about you?
Yeah, as far as LA Knight turning heel, I don't see that happening, especially after what happened tonight in that match. If anybody's going to turn heel, it's going to be Jey Uso, because after his reaction when he was throwing the prime bottles and throwing the fit and whatnot, yeah, he's definitely the one I would see turning heel out of anybody in this scenario. And as far as him having a chance at beating Gunther and being John Cena's last opponent, it's a nice scenario to think about, but deep down, I think we all know how this match is going to end. It's just leading too much in the direction of Gunther being seen as last opponent. It makes the most sense. It's a fresh match. It's a big match. And yeah, it would be a foolish choice to not, see that through. So yeah, I definitely think for sure it's Gunther and John Cena and Cena's last match. As far as who wins, I can't say for sure, but I definitely see it going in that direction. LA Knight's great. I feel like he definitely deserves a lot more than he gets, but he is not going to be Cena's last opponent. I don't think it's happening.
Ruduk, what do you think of what we had to say there?
Well, I think you're probably right, but I think honestly there might be more juice in the squeeze with LA Knight. Like Gunther and Cena, I'm sure it'll be a fine match, but it seems a little boring, a little milquetoast to me. But I think LA Knight could really rev up the engines and make it even more of a intense match for the last match, but we'll see.
Yeah, Kurt, what do you expect in the LA Knight Gunther match? Is it Knight puts up a fight, fans like him, Gunther wins? It's just straightforward? I mean, is it just straightforward?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a scenario where the fans really get behind Knight, and Knight comes close on multiple occasions, but then ultimately it's not enough, and Gunther ends up winning in the end. I kind of feel like that's been the whole vibe of his matches in the tournament so far, so I feel like this match will be no different, but I feel like as far as the crowd reaction and the fans being behind his opponent, it's going to be the most intense in this match, so that's going to be what to watch for the most. I think, yeah, LA Knight will definitely have the fans behind him. I definitely feel like he'll have some close calls, but yeah, at the end of the day, he falls to Gunther, and Gunther faces Cena in his last match. And I think that match will be great. Yeah, it's a new match we haven't seen, and Gunther's been one of the top guys for years, and this is one opponent he's never had. And yeah, who better to put him in that spot than Gunther, especially after he retired Goldberg earlier this year, and he actually pulled a good match out of that. And yeah, I could definitely see this being a classic and match of the year candidate once it goes down.
Doug, before we change subjects, or maybe this is where we're going next, the Jey Uso factor is intriguing. So Derek Mitchell says, I think they're planting seeds to have Jey Uso turn heel, though I'm not sure he will. Like Hangman Page, Jey Uso has always had self-confidence, has had confidence issues and self-doubt. Goodfellas says Jey might cost LA Knight the match. So you could have LA Knight not being sacrificed to Gunther in a straight-up loss, but instead Jey is jealous, he's upset, and he turns. Now, another option is LA Knight starts getting nasty or cheating, and Jey comes out to stop him, although I don't want to push too hard that scenario, just throwing that out there. But Durrell says LA Knight kind of felt second fiddle to Jey crashing out finally, and then again to Gunther to continue to have another good match with someone else who needed a good match. So, I mean, I think the most likely path is just LA Knight loses to Gunther straight up, puts up a good fight, and it's just a chapter in the story. It's not a big angle. It's not about personality changes. But I'm not 100% ruling out LA Knight winning, especially if Levesque just wants to go, yeah, y'all thought you knew and you didn't. That shouldn't be the reason any booker makes the decision, but it might add a little extra juice to if you start having second thoughts about the early decision you made to go with Gunther, if that were not just a red herring, but truly the case. Goodfella says LA Knight or Gunther is fine, but damn, it feels underachieving. And who was it that said Obafemi would have been better? Oh, Goodfellas said, yeah, I really think they missed out not putting Oba in the Cena tournament. They'd have to be ready to push him and have him win. So let's see through what they do with LA Knight and Gunther, and then in the Cena final match on the 13th before we judge whether Oba would have been a better guy to be put in there. Rudolph, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, you're mentioning Jey Uso, and yeah, I was definitely wanted to touch on him. He's definitely felt stuck in neutral for a while now, and maybe now we're slowly seeing things of a change, and it would be weird to turn both LA Knight and Jey Uso around the same time. So I guess Jey probably needs it more than him, but I hope he doesn't ruin the match, because just like there was another crappy non-finish in the main event tonight, it's just it gets tiresome, and not worth watching. So just please stop doing that. That's all I got to say.
Kurt, what do you think about the non-finish in the main event tonight? Bothersome, or let's just deal with it? It's WWE's way of telling stories in the world. In WWE's world, wrestlers interfere when they have either an issue with one team or wrestler in the match, or both. In this case, they had it with both. I think this falls in the category of a justifiable interference finish in a vacuum, but Raw and SmackDown main events don't happen in a vacuum. They happen relative to all the other main events, and I talk about it all the time. You could justify it individually on a given week, but if you do it too often, as Rude Dog says, you just get disinvested in the match. You just go, why should I care about near falls when I know, based on what happened earlier in the show, there's probably going to be interference in a non-finish or blatant interference or a distraction, and so nothing is really going to be settled. It's kind of like the Masked Man coming in the cage, and why Braun was kind of expressing being pissed off about it. Well, that can be another discussion point if we want to have it. But Adam Pearce should have said, Braun, you want a world title match based on a match that you won because a mystery guy in a mask set you up to win? Like, the GM should just go, you didn't prove anything. Like, this idea that wins and losses are everything, when wins and losses are often achieved through absurd outside interference, and nothing technically was proved. And the level-headed people should be saying, hey, the announcers and the GMs and stuff should say, what did you prove? You didn't actually beat them on your own. Let's not pretend you did. We get too many of those finishes. But circling back, it is storyline advancing. The women's tag titles are the center of the division. There were a lot of moving parts to set up future matches. Again, if they didn't do this as often as they do, it'd be justified. But I think they should, Kurt, look for any chance they can to do clean finishes before they get around to angles, so people don't disengage and just think, God, why bother?
Yeah, I was really enjoying that main event. I thought it was a great match. And then when that finish happened, yeah, it definitely put a sour taste in my mouth. But the angle they did afterwards with Liv and Raquel and Roxanne standing tall at the end, they kind of made up for it a little bit. But yeah, I can't really ignore those like non-finishes they do to main events, especially when the main event is that good, that competitive, and you kind of like feel like it could go either way. When they pull that kind of crap where they give you no finish, yeah, it is a letdown, and it is kind of, yeah, spitting in your face in a sense, just like they did with that Survivor Series show they gave us.
Kane Play Stuff said, I watched the main event, got hyped, then I remember they're just going to DQ the match. So, yeah. All right, Rude Dog.
Well, you mentioned the Masked Man or what have you. I thought that was going to be like the main talking point on the show tonight. And they kind of just blew right by it. Like, oh, nothing to see here. Like, they just kind of mention it. Like, well, we had nothing to do about it. Like the vision or whatnot. Like, so to have such a major like development in like a Survivor Series match main event, and to barely address it, like, what is going on here? Like, are we just supposed to forget it happened and the Masked Man will come down sometime down the line again? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, Kurt, I want to get your take on this. Who do you think they want us to believe it is? Talk about the list of candidates out there who are in your mind or out there being speculated about, who you think are legit possibilities. Do you think it's obvious where it's heading? And really what Rude Dog said, were you surprised at how it was handled tonight on Raw?
Yeah, I am surprised that they handled it that way on Raw. For it to be like the hot angle coming out of the main event of Survivor Series, even though it wasn't necessary because it kind of ruined the match. But yeah, even with that being the hot angle coming out of Survivor Series, you don't mention it at all and you just move on to other stuff. Yeah, that is a red flag on their creative in many ways, on many other red flags they have. So yeah, I did not like that. They should have definitely expanded on it more. And as far as who's under the mask, I think 9 times out of 10 is probably Austin Theory. I was thinking it was maybe Seth Rollins for a second when he did the curb stomp, but then I just said to myself, wait a minute, the guy just had surgery. He forfeited the title. Why would he go through all that just to interfere in a War Games main event? That doesn't make any damn sense. So, yeah, if I had to pick anybody, it's probably Theory. I can't think of anybody else it would be besides him. And in all honesty, just the sooner they just reveal it and move on, the better, because that whole angle they did at Survivor Series was not necessary. It really was not good. And, yeah, for the quicker they could just, reveal who it was and move on, that works for me, because it's kind of giving me the vibes, even though I wasn't watching at the time, of the Black Scorpion storyline they did with Sting and WCW. Yeah. It's kind of like what this is reminding me of. So If they could just finish this off as soon as possible, maybe they realize that they made a mistake with this whole angle and it didn't land. So hopefully they can maybe just reveal it and then move on and forget it ever happened. I would be okay with it. But if they stretch this out for like a month, 2 months, then yikes. That's all I got to say.
Kane Play Stuff said, I like that almost everyone thinks the Masked Man was Austin Theory because of his butt. Goodfellas says, I hope they swerve us and the Masked Man is Trick Williams. Derek Mitchell says, it might turn out to be Theory under the Masked Man, not necessarily him on Saturday night. That's the thing. The person who it was Saturday does not have to be who it eventually turns out to be. I mean, that can happen too. Root Dog, follow up?
Yeah. It would just be ridiculous if it was someone with a totally different body type or whatnot. Like, but I mean, it was stupid.
Yeah.
And I think they are realizing it was stupid and like pedaling back a bit, and you'll find out sometime, but it probably won't be a big deal, which is sad for all the people that paid so much money to go to Survivor Series. But
yeah, I mean, it's a mystery that is lingering, and they don't have to pay it off right away. At least Adam Pearce, as dumb as the setup was, I hope nobody knows what I'm saying, and he's saying it live in front of a camera. Even Joe Tessitore knew what he said. If Joe knows, why don't all the wrestlers in the back who Adam didn't want privy to it? Despite that, at least they were giving attention to it. And Pierce wanted to know, and Breaker acknowledged it, and at least, maybe he was feigning it, but he says, I didn't want, this mask goof, costing us our plan, or taking credit for what would have worked anyway without him. So it's an interesting approach, but of course Breaker could have been in on it and just wants to pretend he wasn't, because obviously that's what Heyman is claiming too. You assume I was part of it. I wasn't. That could be the way it plays out too. Somebody just had it in for the victim rather than the heel perpetrators where I'll assume he's associated with. So there's room to continue the story, but they're not ready to pay it off yet, obviously. We're done.
All right, so I'll go to another subject. So what do you think of the intro shot with Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett in the crowd? I don't recall ever seeing that before.
Yeah.
Good, bad?
They experimented early on, Barrett and Joe, with positioning, and I mean, it's kind of fun. I'm for shaking things up. What do you think, Kurt? Did it strike you at all?
Yeah, I liked it. It was a cool switch up. I think they did it with them being in the ring for the intros a couple times, and then it just stuck with them being at the announce table. But yeah, if they could do things like this every now and then, they're in the crowd. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. By the way, I Am Mean Gene says, I've never seen Rude Dog's name, and I always thought it was Roo Dog, ROO. That's right. On my pronunciation, my enunciation, more than anything, if hopefully other people know that you are not Roo, you are rude.
Some might say.
Yes. Roo Dog sounds Australian, says Standard Deviation. All right. Anyway, back to business. What else, Roo Dog?
Well, I was also about Joe and Wade being in the crowd. Like, I was like, are they trying to hide something here? Because it kind of looked like they were filming it like the old way, where they only like film half of the arena. And I also noticed some dark spots like in the upper bowl. Like, are they trying to hide that there was only 9,000 something people in a 20,000 seat arena? I don't know.
They had. They had. It was a nice crowd tonight. They were down from where they were a year ago, but they had WrestleTix has 9,200 people in the building, or 9,200 tickets distributed. But a year ago on November 25th, they had 13,700 in the arena. So it's down 4,500 from a year ago. Maybe ticket prices are a lot higher and they got more revenue out of it. I don't know that, but I don't know. I didn't sense that they were insecure about the setting, if that's what you're getting at, Rudog.
All right.
In fact, Goodfellas says, I was really impressed with the drone shots tonight. They looked really cool.
I just noticed some old ways they shot the crowd. It's like, what are they hiding here? So I mean, it's a good crowd nonetheless, but it obviously could be better as it was last year. So,
Yep, for sure.
All right. I got one last thing.
Yeah.
So AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, is their pairing working for you so far? Because to me, they just still seem like two guys thrown together, even though they're champs.
What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, with the tag titles, I've kind of like given up, like trying to like make them feel relevant, or like I'm trying to get invested in them like they're relevant. So as far as like AJ and Dragon Lee being a team, it is what it is. They make a good team. It's cool and all, but they don't really get enough TV time for them to really stand out and for the people to be that invested in them. And yeah, I feel like tonight was like the first time they've been on TV in a match in like 3 weeks, a month or so. So yeah, it's hard to really get invested into a team like that when you see so little, and in a division as a whole when you see so little of it. And yeah, just from that, also the New Day is probably one of the biggest fumbles on Triple H's creative ever since he took over. Yeah, I've never seen a heel turn that started off so hot, which actually happened a year ago this week. That started so hot, that started so great, and then just within 1 month, it just fumbled, and it just felt like just another heel tag team. And now they're even worse off than they were before that whole thing started. And yeah, AJ and Dragon Lee, it's cool. It's kind of like more of a temporary thing I look at. They're just holding the titles for now until they end up losing it to the next team that they're ready to push. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion either way. It's just sort of fine. I mean, it's fine. I mean, yeah, it's. I don't have a complaint about it. I don't think it's like super dynamic, and they don't come across as two guys who'd be hanging out outside of things. So I guess maybe a little bit more of a sense of why they're teaming and what that friendship or connection is would be helpful to you, Rudog, to be more into it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, you say that one of Triple H's biggest blunders, Kurt, was the New Day. But I would say one of his biggest blunders is the tag team division in general. Like, who has anyone cared about, like, in years now in the tag team division? It's just been mediocre, mid, blah, whatever you want to say. So I think he's just screwed the whole tag team division up, quite frankly.
Yeah, even on SmackDown, they were starting to feel a little more special, like around maybe a year ago with FDR and the Motor City Machine Guns, and then the Street Profits had it for a while, and then after a while, it just became stale again too. Yeah, the SmackDown division is every bit as stale as the Raw division, and yeah, it's just sad because tag team wrestling could be great and tag team wrestling could be a fun part of the show, but it just doesn't feel special and doesn't feel like a big deal like it maybe should. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Would you rather have one set of men's tag team titles, by the way?
That might be best. They probably didn't need to split them up at WrestleMania last year in the first place because both titles have felt cold ever since then, and yeah, it's only getting colder.
Yeah. All right, Rudog. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. That's all I got tonight, guys. Have a good night.
Great.
Take care, you too.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Kurt, let's delve into a little bit more the women's tag team title side of things because they opened up the show with a not super lengthy, but elaborate segment with Io and Rhea Ripley coming out, talking about the War Games win. I like when they follow up on a big win and frame it. They don't just turn the page and pretend it didn't happen. People who got invested in the outcome, you should celebrate. And, Rhea said, our team won the war. And I was advocating last week that the winning the War Games should be enough of a breaking point. You don't need an added stip like the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber has. You don't need a title. You don't need a title shot. You don't need just let winning War Games be in and of itself a victory worth bragging about. So I'm glad that Rhea bragged about that. Then you had Charlotte and Alexa interrupt and go, you guys have an issue with Kabuki Warriors. You want a tag title shot. Well, we are the last champs. We haven't gotten a rematch. We want a tag title shot also. And that, led to the organic main event, so to speak, of those two facing each other to try to earn a title shot. Did you like the way that was presented? Did you think the key points that I brought up match your thoughts on the key points?
Yeah, I thought it was a good way to set up the match, at least, even if you didn't like how it ended. Yeah, with Charlotte and Alexa being the ones who had the titles last before Asuka and Kyrie got it, they had definitely a case for getting a title shot. And with Rhea and Io having the issues with Asuka and Kyrie they've been having for the last few months, you figured it was going in that direction too. So yeah, it was smart to set it up this way and give us like something to look forward to for the main event. And now with how everything ended, with the main event ending the way it did, now you have like 4 teams in contention for those belts, where the 2 of these teams, Raquel and Roxanne, and also Bayley and Lyra. So now it's going to be like, I guess, like a 4 or 5-way mix. And yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I definitely see them doing something along those lines, or maybe a number 1 contenders match. But yeah, it's crazy. The women's tag titles feel a lot more interesting than the men's tag titles on either show. And yeah, I never thought I would say that, but that's basically where we are now.
Yeah. What do you think of Bayley and Lyra and where we are in that storyline? I thought Lyra was interesting tonight. Like telling, I think it was Jackie Redmond, like, we're not always good, but we're good today. Like, things are good now. Let's just enjoy the moment. Don't like start bringing up the fact that Bayley is unstable and unpredictable. We're in a good spot now. Lyra actually, I thought, showed the most personality that felt believable and comfortable in her own skin that we've seen yet in the way she talked about Bayley.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they've backed away from this storyline over the last month, because I kind of felt like they were going somewhere with the whole split personality thing with Bayley, where 1 week she's cool, 1 week she's not cool, and then they kind of like just got away from it and haven't like really done much with it since. But I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that they like start to spice it up again in the next few weeks and we start to see more of it, because it kind of feels weird that they would just drop it out of nowhere with no explanation. But hey, they've been doing a lot of that lately, so I can't really put it past them. But yeah, hopefully they, still build on it some more, because I was even saying months ago that they could stretch this to WrestleMania if they play their cards right. And yeah, they still have time, but yeah, I feel like they should still do more with it, even if, they're trying to pace themselves. They still need to, expand on it more.
Derek Mitchell brings some facts here. I'm concerned the WWE women's tag titles have become a hot potato. They've changed hands 32 times since 2019, since their inception, compared to the TNT title, which changed hands 29 times since 2020. Do titles become established more, Kurt, when someone becomes the centerpiece of the division as a dominant long-term champion? Should that be something on Paul Levesque's mind, to cement these titles as major titles, have someone hold them for a very long time as the dominant team in the division?
Yeah, I think it would do wonders to, take that approach with them. It's done wonders for the Intercontinental title, how they did it with Gunther a few years ago. And yeah, did wonders with Bianca Belair with her long women's title reign that happened a few years ago also. So yeah, with any of those titles, when you have that like set champion who the whole division centered around, and when that person has that title for months and sometimes years at a time, and makes the title feel that much more important. And when you switch it around often, when you play hot potato with it, when there's a new champion pretty much every month, yeah, it's hard to really get that invested and take the champions as seriously as you should. So I understand like why they maybe switch the titles around here and there, and they've done it a lot with the women's titles this year. But at the same time, yeah, they do feel that special when you switch them so often. And yeah, it doesn't really have that same, it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah. Let's talk about Solo and Gunther. It was, Penta got injured last week. I was assuming Penta was going to win. We got Solo Gunther, and they had what Sheamus might call a banger. They were given 19 minutes. I was surprised at how short the New Day tag match was, by the way. Speaking of tag teams, only going 9 minutes with Styles and Lee winning. Solo and Gunther got 20 minutes, and I thought they earned every minute. I thought, it had some Gunther pacing to it, build slowly and intensely. But there was a sort of it's a match that on paper just looked weird to book, but they just kind of went at each other in a way that worked. What'd you think, Kurt?
Thought it was a great match. Honestly, I think it might have been Solo's best match ever when I really look back at his career. Yeah, it was a great match. It was a weird dynamic with it being heel versus heel, but in this case, it worked. I thought both men killed it. I thought both men really brought it. The outcome was never in doubt, but that doesn't make it any less good because it's predictable. So yeah, I really enjoyed this match. Gunther's hands down been the MVP of this whole tournament. Other than his matches, these matches in this tournament have not really been much to watch, but I'm glad to say this match, being another example, was great, delivered, and yeah, makes me look forward to his next match with LA Knight on Friday. And yeah, shout out to both guys for the performance they put on.
Goodfella says, I really like this Solo Gunther match. It might be my favorite solo match.
Yeah, it was great.
Ashley M says, probably best match ever for Solo. So definitely some praise for it. Did it matter Didn't matter. Did it help the perception of Solo as a wrestler to hang and have as good of a match with Gunther, and just sort of in a more storyline sense, just hang with a guy who's already been longtime IC and world champion, who's headed now perhaps to face Cena? Just Solo looking like he belonged in the ring with him to that level. Does that give Solo a little bit of a boost?
I guess I would say so. I mean, with his feuds with Cody and Roman last year, it was great that he was in that spot. But as far as, the outcomes of matches, like, you really didn't expect him to win. And the matches themselves were just fine. But yeah, he definitely showed something different in this match that he did not do in those other matches. I really got a lot out of him from this performance. I don't know where he goes from here per se, but yeah, it was definitely a good look for him, and definitely showed what he's capable of in the ring with the right opponent.
Some comments in the chat on this. Gunther chopping the heck out of him. LOL, says good fella. Eric Moy says Solo showed a lot in this match. Maybe this can propel him and the MFTs to more interesting stories. Jason down Australia. Gunther Solo is my type of match. Sweating, selling, facial expressions, and relatively safe. Yeah, I totally get that. And some Goodfella says there's some faint "Let's Go Solo" chants out there. Interesting. Real Legend says Gunther out-heeled Solo in that match. Yeah. Just in a general, broad sense, Kurt, what do you think of Gunther's place as we close out here 2025 with perhaps a Gunther Cena match? How does he look going into 2026 on the depth chart of top heels and baby faces, just top male stars?
I think he's in a good place right now. I think it's a bit of a step down this year compared to the last 2 years, but it still was a good year for him. Yeah, from the feud he had with Jey Uso going into WrestleMania. I know he lost at WrestleMania, but then he won the belt right back. And then he main evented SummerSlam with Punk. That was a good match too. And he's pretty much about to win this tournament and be the last person to face John Cena. Yeah, that's saying a lot for what the dude has accomplished this year. As far as 2026, it's hard to say. I don't know if he'll get the title back anytime soon. I kind of feel like he might, be, in a spot where like he's in major matches, but not major matches surrounding a championship. But yeah, I could see him maybe getting it to the title picture maybe towards the end of next year, but I don't think it'll be like a focal point for him right now. But regardless of any of that, I think he's in a good place. And yeah, if you are a Gunther fan, there's no reason to be worried or be concerned. I feel like he's in a prime spot right now. And yeah, there's no reason to be concerned.
Jason D in Australia goes, even Gunther shrugging his shoulders before he kicked him in the balls. It's like, well, they were prepared to cheat against me, so why not? Yeah, I mean, that is the story they told. I thought it was well told. Gunther's like, I'll cheat, and I'll rationalize and justify it if the other team was about to cheat. And so I think it worked. I don't know if it affects Solo going forward. It just, yeah, I don't know if this changes anything about Solo other than we just sort of have this banked as a good performance from him. Kane Play Stuff says Solo is really different now compared to back then. So seeing this version of Solo help people remember Solo was still a person who can tough it out. Yeah, that goes to what I'm saying. It helped establish Solo as a badass guy who can turn it up and hang with somebody tough like Gunther. And Gunther, it just shows Gunther on brand doing his style match with a little bit of if you're going to cheat, I can out cheat you. Built in.
Right.
Yeah. Jey Uso, we talked about him earlier, but where do you think Jey is heading? Is this a confidence crisis, an identity crisis, but not necessarily a heel turn? Where is this going, Kurt?
He needs to turn heel. Enough of this already. They've been teasing this for the last 2 months. I know they got away from it for a few weeks because of the build for Survivor Series, but yeah, he needs to turn heel already. They've been doing too much with this. He's kind of gotten, I don't want to see stale as a baby face, but I kind of feel like a heel turn would be good for him, especially how he reacted tonight after losing. Yeah, you need to turn him heel soon. I'm sick and tired of them teasing these things, making these things seem like they're going to happen, but they never happen. They never capitalize on it. For Jey Uso, with what they've been doing with him in recent months, they need to pull the damn trigger already because, yeah, if I see him still doing the same babyface role in 2026 that he was doing all of this past year, yeah, I'm gonna boo him every chance I get when I go to an arena. I'm not joking. Yeah, they need to turn this guy heel already. I've had enough of this whole start and stop thing they've been doing, and yeah, it's time for him to turn heel. If tonight wasn't any more proof, then I don't know what else to tell them.
Kurt, anything else you want to add about tonight's Raw?
Anything else I want to add about Raw tonight. It's funny. A lot of major people were missing. There was no Punk. There was no Roman. There was no Becky Lynch. No AJ Lee. Yeah, a little odd coming out of one of your biggest events of the year, and especially considering how underwhelming that event turned out and all the reviews it got. You figured they would want to redeem themselves with Raw, but I mean, it wasn't a bad show. But at the end of the day, it didn't make up for how bad Survivor Series was. Excuse me.
And tell me what for you the high and low of Survivor Series was.
I would say the highlight of all of Survivor Series was the angle with Dominic, Liv Morgan, and John Cena, the ending of that match. And yeah, the women's match, I think they were honestly better off just doing a regular Survivor Series match than doing a War Games match. It kind of felt like they only did a War Games match so Io Sky could do her spot. And the men's match was better. The action in the men's match was better, but that angle they did at the end with the mystery guy coming in to interfere, I could have done without that. I think the match would have been better received without that whole angle. And yeah, overall, yeah, for how this show is built, it being in a stadium and how much they charge for tickets for them to give us the show they gave us in the end, yeah, that's a bad look on their part. And they really need to look within and, yeah, check what they've been doing creatively, because if they go into the next year doing the same stuff, then, yeah, this boom period we've been talking about WWE will be officially over.
ProWrestling.net, by the way, in their poll, hundreds of votes cast. Number one vote getter was average show. 29% called it average, but the second best vote getter was 27% calling it good. 19% called it disappointing. 12% said it was great. 13% said it was awful. Kurt, all over the place. Pretty much tied for great versus awful. A few more people thought it tipped in the good versus bad. If we break it down to just thumbs up and thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, it's 39% up, 32% down, 29% thumbs in the middle. Not a consensus view on this one, but I do wonder, even just kind of angle and match quality aside, can they still get away with doing a 4-match PLEs loaded with a lot of time spent between matches? I mean, it's a stadium show. And I don't know. I mean, it didn't feel like epic and stadium worthy, because they're splitting so many matches between all their TV deals and Saturday night's main events and their PLE schedule. I think they're being kind of clever about it. But I said this on the VIP Roundtable Saturday night with Todd and Rich. I don't know. I'd be curious to poll the fans leaving the building if they felt like, yeah, I got my money's worth and I got the full WWE experience because I got to see 2 War Games matches and a mystery angle and John Cena. I mean, I know WWE thinks they're giving people enough without giving them a lot. How do you feel about that formula?
I don't like it. Yeah, it's one thing to get the people to buy tickets to come to the shows, and it's another thing to give them something worth paying the price for and making them want to come back. And excuse me. Yeah, from what Paul Heyman was saying that Survivor Series was going to make you want to buy tickets to go to WrestleMania in Vegas. And from that show I saw, that did not make me want to buy tickets to go to WrestleMania at all. Hell, it barely even made me want to watch Raw on Monday or SmackDown Friday. I'm sorry. Yeah. From the show they put on, it did not make me want to buy tickets to WrestleMania or any of their other shows coming up. Yeah, they just need to really kind of like get their ish together, because with the comment Triple H was making earlier this year about, just enjoy the show, just enjoy the product, don't say anything, don't be such a critic. When you're a paying customer, and especially when you're paying the prices they're charging now for these shows, to go to these shows or watch it on a streaming service that's charging more money now to have to subscribe to all these different streaming services to watch all your shows, you better give them a product that's worth spending all that money for. And if you're just going to coast through and just say, we have their money, we can give them any show we want, it doesn't matter, they're still going to pay for it anyway. No, that's messed up. And if they do have the mentality, they deserve for their ticket sales to go down, they deserve for their public image to go down, they deserve to be called out for their bad ideas and all that jazz. Yeah, if they're going to do business that way, then they deserve to be criticized for it.
Well, they're down 4,500 in attendance tonight in the same venue compared to a year ago. I think some people looking at ticket prices or the attraction and saying it's not worth the trip to the arena. You want to be ahead of that, not behind that, if that's the trend. So yeah, for sure. All right. Just another plug here for our VIP sale. If you haven't taken advantage of it yet, you're going to want to move quickly here before the deal expires. You can get information on VIP membership, pwtorch.com/govip. Alan Forel's Pro Wrestling Paradise is a tremendous show. looking at current events, but often looking back at history, bringing out different guests. It's a really fun show. I don't tout enough. I've been kind of pushing it lately as a real staple of VIP. Also, Greg Parks Out Loud, where he goes in depth on a single topic. We've got Everything with Rich and Wade and The Fix with Todd and Wade, NXT 8 Years Back. We got the show that Kurt and Chris do, Catching the Culture, with a comparison between a big wrestling event and a wrestling movie, which is really cool. And of course, as mentioned, our post-pay-per-view roundtables that we've been doing for over 2 decades. That's just on the podcast side of things. We also have the Wade Keller news bulletins in PDF, text, and audio format. My reviews, my 15, 20-minute reviews of Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown with a start-to-finish rundown. So if you don't see the shows or you don't want to read about them, you can listen to them late afterwards or the next morning and catch up on everything that happened and get a sense of the show. It's a real efficient way to keep up on pro wrestling, even if you choose to watch the NFL or have a family event or whatever is going on that prevents you from being able to watch the shows. The VIP membership helps you do that. The VIP sale is ongoing right now, NOV 2025, to take $9 off a 1-month, 3-month, or 1-year sub. That's $9 off using coupon code during checkout, NOV, as in November, NOV 2025, pwtorch.com/GoVIP. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, callers. Thanks, everyone in the chat. Thanks, VIP members. Thank you to our listeners. And we will talk to you all tomorrow on the flagship on the Blue Logo Show. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. That is the Wade Keller Podcast. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app and subscribe. And on Tuesday night, Greg Parks and I will be covering all the big issues, including following up on Raw and looking ahead to Dynamite and looking ahead to December 13th and more. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.